we'll fire away. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm James from Your Personal Trainer, Operations Director. Really excited, and it's a pleasure today to have Carl Smith on this webinar. We're going to be looking at digital PT and some new concepts as we look to remobilize into the industry, get gyms back up and running, and how you can benefit as fitness professionals within this time. So just a bit of background about Carl. He's the owner of Concept Fitness Consultancy. Carl has a wealth of experience in the industry and has worked in many national roles with key operators throughout the UK over his tenure in the industry. So today we're going to really review developing digital services as personal trainers, what your value proposition is going to look like, and how you will adapt to the changing times within our industry. We have recently launched Your Wellbeing as a platform and as an app management tool, which is effectively a one-stop shop solution that will fully control and manage your business as a fitness professional. Virtua Gym are developing partners for Your Wellbeing, and Virtua Gym have, again, a wealth of experience within this field. They've got 16 million end users, and they currently work with over 35,000 fitness professionals. So you've got the assurances really that Your Wellbeing, designed by Virtua Gym, is a fantastic platform for you to integrate with your PT services. In preparation for today, I have collected various questions that have kindly been put forward by our personal trainers at Your PT. So we'll review them in a little bit more depth to ensure that you get maximum value out of this session today. But with no further ado, I'd like to pass over to Carl, just to give a brief introduction and tell us a little bit about his involvement in the industry, and more importantly, with Virtua Gym in recent years.
Thanks, James, and look, thanks for having me. It's an interesting question, because the older you get, the more history you've got to talk about when people ask you that question. And I was recently sort of retailing my CV and did a bit of Google research on how far back are people really interested in knowing. And apparently it's about 10 to 15 years, and at best, and really about 9. So really, I've had the same job for the last 9 years. So really, the last 9 years, I was working for a company called Exercise for Less. I started when that company had, I want to say three sites, and I think my interview was at 3 sites, and I was due to start when we had 4, because they said that there wouldn't be enough for me to do, which was absolute rubbish to be. So for that the last 9 years, I've supported the fitness product in the capacity of a national health and fitness manager. I think we had 30 trainers when I first started, and I built that to, I was gonna take a guess, but I know it's exactly 541 at its peak. We went through a change of model. We decided at one point to employ our PT, so there was a whole change there. And I think along the way it's been an interesting experience. But for myself personally, but where my passion lies, it's helping trainers and supporting trainers with their businesses, and certainly my observations within the industry is that it's got a lot better. Don't get me wrong. I think when I started as a PT, there was a real lack of sales and business support, and I think that has got so much better. Don't get me wrong, but I do think there's still a shortage of support. Hence, where I'm at now.
Fantastic. No, really appreciate it, Carl. And some of the questions that we've collected, they're quite pertinent to today's session. And obviously, you've worked with thousands of trainers over the years, but what would you say are the key challenges that you've seen with personal trainers becoming successful and defining their product since you've been involved with them?
Yeah, I think almost kind of I just mentioned. I think there's definitely let's call it a skills gap between completing your level 2, level 3 qualification and then the industry expecting you to be this entrepreneurial individual who wants to be self-employed, who has always had a passion to be self-employed. And in the majority, I think as a trainer, you just want to help people. You like training, and you want to share your knowledge. Whether that role's self-employed or employed, I'm not convinced that is a thought process at the beginning of all this. Certainly from my own experience, when I got into personal training, I went for a job as a fitness consultant and walked away with a job as a personal trainer, and didn't know what a personal trainer was. Didn't know that I had to effectively pay a rent, pay a license fee. And look, I absolutely made it work, but at the beginning, I think there's certainly a lack of understanding potentially of how it all works. And so I think with you, a lot of us end up learning on our feet, so to speak. So, you get thrown into the deep end effectively. A lot of us get thrown in potentially to, could be first week, for example. Gym manager comes running up and says, "Oh, my spin instructor's rang in sick. Can you deliver a class?" Never delivered a class before in my life. How many people are in the class? Oh, it's full. Oh, okay. I'll do my best. And you get on the bike and you learn as you go. And I think that kind of learning curve is where some just thrive and it works, but a lot of us, I think, that just breaks us. So where I'm at, I think, is certainly where I'm positioning my business now is I want to support those trainers with that middle piece, that skills gap. So, prior to getting started as a personal trainer, prior to stepping foot into the gym, it makes sense to sit and plan out how that's going to work. Plan out how you're going to build your client base, how you're going to generate interest. What's your niche, so to speak. What's your pricing? When you sit down with that first client, do you have everything ready to be able to present to somebody and say, this is what I do, this is how I help people, these are my packages, etc. A lot of us, as I say, you just learn as you go. So in that first client situation, you're that desperate and that excited that somebody's about to kind of sign up with you, you potentially don't have the right product. You might sell it too cheap. You might present it too expensive. It's those kind of things that it's always better to learn from other people's mistakes than have to make them yourself. So I just think that there's a necessity for spending some time, whether it's with a coach like myself or whether it's with another trainer, but spending some time with somebody up front to really understand the whole thing so that you know what you're getting into. So you are successful, because the statistics in our industry aren't particularly great in terms of PT turnover. And I know that your PT does offer a lot of support. So I think what you guys are doing is brilliant.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Carl. And I couldn't agree more. I think there's a massive skills gap between learning and application within the industry, and often throwing yourself in the deep end, like you did in your example around the spin class, is often the best way to learn. But two important factors that we consider at Your PT is when you're starting out, you need to be teachable and you need to be willing to work. And I think those core traits often define the success of a personal trainer, because, as you said, a lot of it is around sticking power, and a lot of this is around timing and optimizing your opportunities. So I think with the COVID situation that we've gone through for a year now, the opportunities are as high as ever within the industry. I think for anyone with their eyes open, there's so many opportunities for fitness professionals
100%.
as we help the public, regain a level of fitness and well-being. So that's fantastic, and thank you for the insight. And one of the key questions that came back a lot from our trainers was, obviously a lot of PTs now are adapting to online training and are getting fairly good at it in a lot of circumstances. We strongly believe that face-to-face is still optimum, but how would you go about attracting clients for an online service provision? Are there any key examples that you could give us that would add value?
Hopefully. I think first off, let's not pretend it's easy. I think it potentially, there's every PT right now is on Instagram. every PT is an online coach, because effectively, although we're allowed to do some outdoor training, pretty much online PT is all there is. So it's a very saturated market right now. It's really difficult to stand out. So one, it's don't go into this thinking it's going to be easy, but don't also get downhearted because it's not giving you the results that you want straight away. I think the top tip from me, I suppose, is that one, you've got to have a resilient content plan. You can't just put out generic content anymore. It's really about finding a niche and then being super niche. And I know that's a massive contradiction to when you're face-to-face training in a commercial gym. You want to be all things to all people. You want to cast a wide net. I want to help the bodybuilder, and I also want to help Mary who wants to lose weight, and I want to help whatever her name is, Edith, who needs help with osteoporosis. So I want to cast this wide net in a commercial gym. But when you communicate like that online, you actually communicate to no one. Your message needs to resonate with somebody, and the only way to do that is to speak to an individual. So it takes some getting your head around, because you initially think that means that I'm going to alienate a whole piece of the market, but in reality, what you're looking to become is a specialist in your chosen field. So first off, it takes time for you to think about what that is. So it could be you're refining it down to, I don't know, I help fathers who have a busy lifestyle, who are between the ages of 25 and 30 with their fitness. And then you might want to drill that down even further, so you're really specific, so that once you understand your target market, or that not just the market, this individual, you paint an avatar of that individual. So down to what that person's hobbies are, what that person's lifestyle choices are, down to maybe what color that person's hair is, so that when you're communicating to that one person. And what will happen is eventually that one person will see that message, and it will resonate, and that they'll act on it, and that will then start to grow outwards. But it takes a lot of time to get your head around specifically speaking to that one individual. So I think content then stems from there. Once you understand that's your individual you're trying to attract, then your content plan, your branding, and everything else stems from there. Does that make any sense?
It does. No, it makes perfect sense. I guess the key point that we're trying to allude to there is the fact that whether you're face-to-face or online, you need a communication strategy, you need an approach mechanism, and then you probably need some sort of onboarding process to get that person from a prospect to a paying client. So 100%, there's some golden nuggets in there, Carl, and a lot of great value, particularly around the point on the niche market as well. I certainly see that with a lot of online coaching these days, is that they're very specific in terms of the audience that they're promoting to.
You have to be specific to stand out, and that's the I think when the gyms are open, there's going to be you've got your face-to-face business that will then start to feed your online business, because you can generate interest in, and it's much easier to generate interest face-to-face than it is online, because everybody's online, and when you're trying to generate this interest online, you've got to think about how people behave when they're using their technology as well. So if you're on Instagram, how many flicks do you really do before you put your phone down and do something else? And you have to have your message within that, I don't know, 5 or 6 flicks of the thumb, so to speak. So the other top tip that I'm going to throw in there is online marketing is about volume, but making sure that the volume is also specific and not just the same message repeated and repeated and repeated. There is a school of thought that suggests that 50 pieces of content a day is not out of order. with regards to social media marketing. And I'm not suggesting there either that it has to be 50 posts that took you an hour to create. It could be a comment on somebody else's post. It could be a like. It could be a share. It could be on various different platforms, because that there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook, there's Instagram. So there's lots of different platforms that you can do that. And then if you're interacting with an app, so for example, Virtugym, once you've completed an activity in Virtugym, it will give you the option to share that. We'll do it. It's another free piece of content that might get your face in someone's face effectively so they think about you. Because the idea here is that once that prospect has seen you enough times, eventually, if they have a need, you're the first person they think about, and they come to you. And very different than the old school way of you hunting those people down.
Absolutely. That's a really great example. I think there's often a consensus of thought that we think we're over advertising a lot of the time. And I think one of the key methods I always learned when I was doing full-time PT was almost use a jab hook method. So free information, and then give the sales pitch. In terms of 50, I suppose for a fitness professional reviewing this video, that's a really key tip of, as a daily method of operation, 50 kind of interactions per day is something to aspire to.
You mentioned jab hook. I think I love the book. For me, it's now jab hook. You've got to give people so much free content to get them engaged with you first, because if you just keep selling to them, that just pushes people further away from your business. And it's tough. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort to find the right kind of content to attract a client. But yeah, it's more of a softly approach, I think, now than maybe the old school jab bam.
Fantastic. We're always looking for that knockout, aren't we, Carl? So that's always good. And that leads us nicely on to our next question. Now, this is quite a broad question, but it has been raised on various occasions. And I'm probably quite conscious on this, not to lead the answer down a certain path, because I think it's important to get value out of this session and get an honest approach as well. So the question is around, do you think online is optimum or face-to-face is optimum for approaching and working with clients?
That's probably an opinion answer, and I'm more than happy to share my personal opinion. My personal opinion is I kind of like both. I like the face-to-face. I think I get a lot out of a face-to-face consultation, a face-to-face session. But over these last, I'm going to say it's 12 months or so now, I've learned to really like the online side of things. But what I have, what is interesting for me, and over the last few months of looking into this, is online PT doesn't have to be what we thought it was. I think there was when you say online PT to some trainers, there's an assumption that online PT is effectively a program and access to some kind of system, and it's a whole bunch of automated text and automated emails, and you think, well, what kind of service am I really providing someone? It's just a bunch of messages that, yes, I've created them, yes, they're well, no, they're not specific, they're generic. But it's a lower price point. It's a low barrier to entry. It means I can effectively scale up and live in Dubai and live on the beach and train my clients from the bar. But I'm not a fan of that, because the way I got into this because I want to help people, and I'm not convinced that is really helping anybody but yourself. However, when I think about how I've adapted my own bootcamp business to work throughout lockdown, I'm using Zoom, and when we're on Zoom now, and Zoom gives you an ability to deliver a face-to-face-ish service, and Virtugym, and it's a system that I use as well, by the way, Virtual Gym allows me to coach my clients, deliver the accountability. It allows me to coach them with their nutrition. It allows them to upload their progress. It means I don't have to do all the things that maybe you would have done in a gym environment. So, down to weighing my clients and measuring my clients, they can do that themselves. They can upload that to an app. The benefit of, and so I see that as online PT. I mean, you might call it a hybrid model. I personally see that as a as a new offering, a new product that maybe we certainly didn't think about 13 months ago. Who was using Zoom then?
Yeah, I think we've discussed this, haven't we? If we put shares in Zoom when we started using it 10 years ago, we could be sensibly retired by now. But yeah, I think absolutely the hybrid kind of concept is certainly a top topic of conversation on a regular basis now. And certainly, we've had our hand forced in the last 12 months. Fitness professionals have had to adapt like every other business in the UK. So, again, really grateful for your sort of views on that, Carl, and how you've adapted personally. So I think that's great. And another question then that falls off the back of this is, I've started to deliver online, but I don't really know what to charge. So any suggestions around packaging and, how would you go about, defining your value proposition as an online coach?
Yeah. Again, through sort of personal experience of this while I was putting my own sort of boot camp together, I want to say now 6 or 7 months ago, it starts with your product. And again, when you're thinking about an online proposition now, it's all about the product. So what you don't sell online is 5 sessions or 10 sessions. You sell results, and you want to sell a process effectively. So I think it makes sense to forget pricing up front, but really start to work on what you want to offer. So first off, do you want to deliver Zoom sessions? Do you want a face-to-face element, or don't you? Do you want to offer nutritional support, and what does that look like? Do you want to give somebody a personalized program, and are you going to be, how much time is it going to take you to generate a personalized program? And do you do personalized programs, by the way? Who needs a personalized program? That's another question I've got. If you're smart enough with your niche, then really that program should work. The templated program that you've created should work for all your niche. So if you're smart with your niche and your specific audience, then that one program that you've already written into a plan, potentially that's maybe it's a 12-month plan. So maybe your product is a 12-month plan. It's a 12-month progressive plan that takes somebody from A to B over 12 months. That program might change every 4 to 6 weeks. But throughout that process, how much adaptation do you really need to make to that plan if you've got your niche right in the first place? So if you've done the work up front, then you can charge less for it. If you're going to spend time creating a plan every time, and it takes you 2 or 3 hours on a computer to sit and rationalize it all, then you want to charge for that. Yeah. So I think it starts with looking at your program, thinking about time, thinking about what you think it's worth, and then importantly, and I know a lot of trainers that just don't do this. Look at what else is out there in your local area. Look at what your competitors are charging. And right now, just to give you an indication that if you're selling an online plan, about £47 to £97 a month seems to be the right kind of price point. And then it's what you build into that. I don't either know why the 7 has started to pop up as a more attractive price point. In my days. It ended with a 9. For some reason, we could never sell £20. It had to be £19.99. Yeah, now it's £97 or £47. It has that seems to resonate with people. But have a play. Test it.
Yeah. It's all about testing the market and your key demographics, I guess. But yeah, I guess with the 7, there's probably some psychology in selling in there somewhere. But yeah, as part of your well-being, we have the calculator, which will basically give the personal trainer the visibility of what their earning potential could be. based on a nominal fee for their online service. But I think you're totally right. I think it's all about almost creating a price menu for your end users, and giving them that flexibility to tailor a package to fit what their actual goals are.
One of the things I do tell my clients is that it certainly absolutely create a menu, but think about that menu. Let's say, for example, and I'm hopefully I'm not disrespecting any particular restaurant brand here, but if I go to a brewer's fair that in the olden days, and I say the olden days, I mean when gyms were open and the rest of the businesses, stuck next to a Premier Inn used to be a brewer's fair, and if you go into that restaurant to have a meal, and I know I've called it a restaurant, open up that menu and it is freaking huge. There's about 25 different burgers on there. I don't need all that choice. I've just finished work. Just get me a burger, or a chicken wrap. But so where I'm going with this is that in personal training, when you're presenting your options to your prospects, you're the expert, you're the specialist. Think of yourself as a Gordon Ramsay restaurant where there is one starter, there are potentially two mains, and there's one dessert, and I'm going to recommend that you have that one. So you just don't have a lot of different options, because then if you have too many options, you're always going to be faced with, I need to think about it. Absolutely. And I guarantee you now, people don't go home and think about it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Loads of value there, and it goes back to that prescription method, doesn't it? You know, the prescribing of a recommended meal in the brewer's fair is going to be difficult versus Gordon Ramsay, and it should be the same for fitness professionals. You know, have some trusted services that we can prescribe to the end user. Fantastic. No, really good content, and it kind of brings us on then to the last question really here, Carl, that we've collected is, obviously it's been unprecedented times in the last 12 months, as we've discussed, but with that it's bringing unprecedented opportunities as we kind of now are in the last phase of what we believe will be the final lockdown in the UK, gyms to reopen, things to get back to some sort of normality and freedom of movement. But what do you see in your expert opinion? What do you see as the opportunities for PTs, you know, moving into this new way of working and this new world post-COVID?
Well, I suppose there's two schools of thought here, as there is typically, I suppose. But personally, I think there's going to be a tsunami of interest. I think that the people will come flooding back to the gyms. I think that we've been in and out of lockdown. You know, I'm not saying anything here that I'm sure that people aren't thinking, that we're all pretty sick of this now. We want to get back to some kind of normality, and I think that what will happen actually by default is that as soon as we can, we will default to the norm. And we will get back to just doing what we did. So I think the smart PTs will be the ones that have learned some lessons from the last 13 months. The smart PTs are the ones that will adapt their businesses to have a combination of online and a combination of face-to-face. We don't know if this is going to happen again. What if this happens again? You know, what would you, as a trainer now, what would you like to have had in place prior to this happening? Well, the successful PTs, the successful trainers right now have had a good client base that they can depend on, and that they've built great relationships with. You know, I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday who's one of his clients have paid him 3 years up front for services now, because she knows that she wants to support this trainer. She wants this trainer to be in business when we come out of this, and had the funds to do so. So you want to build yourself a bunch of raving fans that will do just that and keep you in business. So how do you do that? Well, you know, I would suggest that, you know, you certainly look at a platform, and Virtue Gym is one such platform that you guys have developed, which I think is industry leading. get as many of your clients on board with an online offering. What that app gives you an opportunity to do is create a really low barrier to entry. So you can engage with clients for a really low price, which makes PT a much more attractive proposition. It means you can build a large group of individuals that are interested, semi-interested, warm, lukewarm, cold, but they will, for a low price point, you can have them sat within your network, so to speak. So if this happens again, you have an audience, because where a lot of us made the mistake or didn't have the time to build an audience this time is we just didn't have an audience to communicate to, and now we're all trying to scrap around for the audience, and we're all fighting over the same little fish, so to speak. So build an audience, get back into the gyms when you can, you know, don't wait for whatever reason. I think I would want to be one of the first people back in the gym, supporting new members, supporting my business ultimately as well. And from a long-term perspective, I was watching a program last night on electric vehicles. So this might be a little bit off the cuff, but an electric vehicle right now takes far too long to charge. So if to get a full charge on a typical electric vehicle, you're talking about half an hour at least on a fast charge to fill the car up. So is there an opportunity for a PT studio to somehow combine itself with the service station, so that when you go to charge your car, you can go and have a little quick workout, get back in your car and get back on the road? I don't know.
It makes fitness accessible for all, doesn't it? And it optimizes your charge time. No, absolutely. And I love that, Carl. You know, there's some great inspiration really, and some great suggestions there. And yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I'll certainly be looking into the electric cars and hopefully have a workout whilst they're booting up. But I think, you know, grateful as well for your overview of your well-being. From our perspective, the two major things that we want to provide with your well-being is, firstly, a great tool to allow fitness professionals to deliver a great service, and also just to help PTs wherever they need help. And I think those key elements are certainly something that we're really focused on. And I think it's a key step for us as a company to have that integration out with the digital world, and allow us to influence more PTs and more end users as a result of it. So really grateful for your time today. In terms of wrapping things up, Carl, what we'd all like to know is what you've got lined up for the next 12 months from a business perspective with Concept Fitness, and how we can get involved in it.
Well, thank you, and you're very welcome, James. I think for me, just to let you know what Concept Fitness is all about, really. You know, there's three arms to the business, and there's the qualification side of things. So I'm currently tied up with a company called Umbrella, who we deliver a level 2, level 3 qualification, and include a 6-week business boot camp for just £13.99. So that's not £13.99, but it's a low price, low barrier to entry in terms of getting into the industry. There's the boot camp, which I said is included within the qualification. So that's a 6-week business boot camp where effectively you get 2 sessions a week with myself to help you set up your business. And actually, in terms of what the last question, what the smart PTs are going to be doing right now is getting their business in a position where they are ready to fly. So all the things that you don't get a chance to do when you're actively trading, you know, working on your brand, working on your social media presence, working on you know what the app looks like for you. So that's a product that I think should sit nicely between, you know, completing your qualification and getting into the industry. And I also offer one-to-one coaching. Now, outside of all that, what I am currently promoting, if you don't mind, is a free support Facebook group. So I'm conscious that not everybody's in a position right now that they've got the finances to follow up on that kind of support. So I've created a free Facebook group. It's called Concept Fitness Personal Trainer Forum, where you've got access to myself to ask any questions you've got. You can ask the group any questions, but look, it's totally free. There's no obligation to buy anything, and all you need to do is to search for the group in Facebook and give it a join. I'll let you in.
Fantastic. No, that's amazing, Carl. And we'll make sure we attach the link to this recording today. But once again, thank you so much for your insight and for your kind of outlook on the future of the fitness industry. We look forward to continuing our relationship and working with you at Concept Fitness, and we'll touch base again soon. Thanks for your time today, Carl.
Appreciate it.
Take care.